All right. Let's dive into this good energy thing, what Dr. Casey means in her book, Good Energy. We're all about figuring out how our cells hold the keys to fighting off those chronic diseases, right?
Absolutely.
Dr. Means might just have the answer.
Yeah.
She's got this whole new way of thinking about metabolic health. I gotta say, it's got me really curious.
Yeah, it's not your typical health book.
Right.
Dr. Means really gets into it, like really deep into how our cells work.
Okay.
And she's saying it's not just about, calories in and calories out.
Yeah.
It's about this good energy, basically, how well our cells are running.
Okay, unpack that for me a bit.
Sure.
So you're telling me everything from feeling tired in the afternoon to, like, serious chronic conditions comes from our cells not doing their best work. That's a pretty big statement, isn't it?
It might seem like a big jump, but she lays it out really well. Think of it this way. Our cells are like little factories, right?
Okay.
Constantly churning out energy to keep us going. But when those factories get jammed up by stuff like inflammation, insulin resistance, or oxidative stress, that's what she calls bad energy.
Right.
By the way, then our bodies start sending up red flags.
So those warning signs can be like fatigue, brain fog, even those chronic diseases everyone's worried about.
Exactly.
Like we're running on fumes instead of like that premium fuel,
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, Dr. Means says a lot of doctors miss this root cause. They focus on individual symptoms instead of the big picture of how healthy our cells are. She actually has this case study in the book from her own patients that really got to me.
Yeah.
A patient named Sarah. Have you gotten to that part yet?
Yeah. Sarah's story was pretty intense. Only 36 years old, dealing with constant migraines, arthritis. I mean, the list goes on. Makes you realize just how connected everything is in your body.
Absolutely. Most doctors would look at each of her problems separately, you know.
Right.
But Dr. Means she put the pieces together, found out that Sarah's gut health was a huge part of those migraines. That's not something you hear every day.
No, not at all.
And it's the perfect example of how this whole good energy approach can be a game changer.
Totally. Like those medical shows where they finally figure out what's really wrong.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we achieve this good energy?
Well, she breaks it down into a few main areas.
Okay.
They might sound familiar: diet, sleep, handling stress, but she really explains why they matter in a way that's, I don't know, kind of mind-blowing.
I'm all about the why. So let's start with diet. Is this some crazy restrictive thing? Because I don't know if I can handle another one of those.
You're fine. It's not about deprivation at all.
Okay.
She's all about eating whole foods.
Sure.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about what you eat, but the actual quality of the food.
Okay.
She's a big proponent of things like micronutrients and those polyphenols everyone's talking about these days.
Okay, hold on. Those are some big words. Micronutrients, polyphenols. Remind me what those are again.
Right. So micronutrients, those are like the VIPs of the nutrient world. Vitamins, minerals, the stuff our cells need to really thrive.
Gotcha.
And polyphenols. They're these powerful antioxidants you find in colorful fruits and veggies, even dark chocolate.
Interesting.
They protect our cells from damage.
So eat the rainbow.
Got it. Exactly.
Was it not just fruits and veggies, right?
Right. Dr. Means also emphasizes healthy fats and getting enough protein, especially from good sources: grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, that sort of thing.
High-quality whole foods. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about those seed oils, though? She's not a fan, right?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's all about balance.
Right.
Our bodies need omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids.
Right. Right.
But a lot of modern diets have way too many omega-6s, and those seed oils are a big reason why.
And too many omega-6s can lead to inflammation, which messes with how our cells make energy.
Exactly.
Dr. Means says cutting back on seed oils and using olive oil, avocado oil, even coconut oil can make a big difference in calming that inflammation down.
Okay, so good fats, bad fats. Got to make the right choices. But let's be real, grocery shopping can be kind of a nightmare. Tell me about it. That's why Dr. Means is such a big advocate for really understanding food labels.
Right.
And even better, choosing organic and regeneratively farmed stuff whenever you can.
Organic gets thrown around a lot these days.
For sure.
Is it really worth the extra money?
Well, Dr. Means makes a strong case for it. Organic farming avoids those synthetic pesticides and herbicides that can mess with our hormones and contribute to, our cells not working right. Plus, it's better for the environment.
Right. There's the ethical side of it, too, which is important.
Absolutely.
But let's be real for a second. Sometimes the budget is tight.
Oh, for sure. And she gets that. She suggests prioritizing organic for the dirty dozen.
Right. Right.
Those fruits and veggies that get sprayed with the most pesticides. Small steps, you know?
Okay, yeah. Baby steps. I like that. Okay, we've got diet down. That's super interesting already. Yeah. But there's more to good energy than just what we eat.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Means dives into something people often overlook. Sleep.
Sleep, okay.
It's not just about beauty rest. It's about giving ourselves time to actually repair themselves and recharge.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, what she says about this was really eye-opening to me.
Okay, interesting, because I'm with you. I feel like a completely different person after a good night's sleep. But what makes her approach to sleep so different?
It's not just about how much you sleep, though getting those 7 to 8 hours is key, she says.
Right.
It's about the quality of your sleep and when you sleep. Dr. Means talks about how artificial light, especially at night, can really mess with our natural sleep cycles.
Right, those circadian rhythms. So no more scrolling through social media in bed. Busted.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But seriously, what's so bad about a little screen time before bed?
It's like you're telling your brain it's still daytime when it should be winding down.
Okay.
Dr. Means says this can mess with the production of melatonin, which is that sleep hormone we need to actually fall asleep peacefully.
Right. And without enough melatonin, we end up tossing and turning all night, waking up feeling groggy. Yeah. Been there. But it's not just about ditching the screens, right? There's more to it.
Right. Dr. Means gives a whole bunch of sleep hygiene tips. Things like creating a relaxing bedtime routine, keeping your bedroom cool and dark, even those little things like making sure your bedroom is actually optimized for good sleep.
Blackout curtains, good sleep mask, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And here's another one she talks about that I found really interesting, aligning your sleep schedule with the sun.
So waking up with the sun, even if it's brutal at first.
Yeah, exactly. It might sound rough, especially for us night owls.
Oh, yeah.
But Dr. Means says that getting that morning sunlight helps to reset our internal clocks and boost our energy for the whole day.
Okay, I'm willing to give it a shot, especially if it means feeling more energized.
Right.
But let's be honest, sometimes life gets in the way, even if we have the best sleep routine.
Oh, for sure.
What about those nights when you're up stressing about work or family or whatever?
Well, that's where stress management comes in.
Right.
Dr. Means has a whole section dedicated to the impact of stress on our cells.
Yeah.
It's like our bodies go into fight or flight mode and just can't turn it off.
Right.
She talks about this thing called the vagus nerve. It's super important for calming our nervous systems down.
Yeah, like switching to rest and digest mode.
Exactly. But she talks about how being stressed out all the time can really throw that balance off, leading to inflammation, problems sleeping, and a whole bunch more things that just sabotage our good energy.
So how do we actually manage stress? We can't just, like, make it disappear.
No, absolutely not.
Part of life, right?
She's not saying we can control everything life throws our way.
Right.
But we can control how we react to it.
Okay.
And she talks about a bunch of techniques for activating that vagus nerve and switching from that fight or flight to rest and digest mode.
Okay, like what? Tell me more.
Well, some of them are really simple, like deep breathing exercises.
Right.
I know sounds basic, but it really works.
Sure. Yeah.
Others are a little more surprising, like cold exposure.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, that blast of cold water in the shower isn't just good for waking you up. It can actually get that vagus nerve going, too.
Cold showers for better health. You're going to have to sell me on that one.
Yeah.
Deep breathing. I'm there. Anything else?
She's big on mindfulness stuff, too. Meditation, yoga, even just spending time in nature.
So it doesn't have to be intense workouts.
Nope.
Sometimes just chilling out and, like, literally smelling the roses is just as good.
Exactly. She says the key is finding what works for you and making it part of your routine.
Makes sense. It's about finding those moments of peace during the day. Okay, we've covered diet, sleep, stress. What about those environmental toxins she talks about? It feels like they're everywhere these days.
Yeah, that's a major one for Dr. Means. She gets into how these chemicals in our food, cleaning products, even our furniture, can mess with our hormones and mess up how our cells function.
Okay, now I'm starting to get a little paranoid. Feels like there are toxins lurking around every corner.
I know, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But hey, knowledge is power, right? Dr. Means gives you a ton of practical tips for, like, minimizing your exposure.
Like what? Give me some action items here. I'm ready to detoxify my life.
First and foremost, choosing organic foods as much as possible. And not just produce. She talks about going organic with meat and dairy, too, so you're avoiding those added hormones and antibiotics.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You are what you eat, right? What else can we do?
Filtering your water is a big one.
Okay.
Those contaminants in tap water can add up over time.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get one of those fancy water filters.
Yeah.
Any other swaps we can make?
She's really into taking a close look at your personal care products, too. Your shampoos, lotions, makeup,
Right.
and going for those cleaner, non-toxic options whenever you can.
Oh, man. Trying to read those ingredient lists on those products is like a foreign language. But those parabens and sulfates, not doing us any favors, are they?
Nope, not at all. Dr. Means has a bunch of resources on her website for finding safer products.
Okay, cool.
And honestly, there are so many awesome natural options out there now.
Right, right. Okay, so we're eating clean, sleeping well, managing our stress, and detoxing our homes. Anything else we need to know about achieving this good energy, or are we ready for a nap?
Well, we've covered a lot, but there's one more piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked: movement.
Oh, right. Exercise. She doesn't just mean hitting the gym every day, does she? Because honestly, even the thought of a workout exhausts me.
Okay, we're back and ready to dive even deeper into this good energy thing with Dr. Means.
I have to admit, I'm super curious about this whole sleep connection, like we all know we feel better after a good night's sleep.
Right.
But what makes her approach different?
So it's not just about the quantity, although getting those 7 to 8 hours is like non-negotiable, she says.
Right.
It's about the quality of sleep and the timing.
Okay.
Dr. Means talks a lot about how artificial light, especially at night, can really mess up our natural sleep-wake cycles.
Right, those circadian rhythms we were talking about before, so no more scrolling through social media in bed. Guilty as charged. But seriously, what's so bad about a little screen time before bed? Well, it's like telling your brain, hey, it's still daytime,
Right.
when it should be winding down.
Okay.
Dr. Means says this throws off our production of melatonin,
Right.
which is that hormone that helps us fall asleep.
Right. And without enough of it, we're tossing and turning all night, waking up groggy. Been there. It's not just about ditching the screens, though, right?
No, she gives you this whole toolbox of sleep hygiene tips.
Okay. Like what?
Things like creating a bedtime routine that helps you relax, making sure your bedroom's cool and dark-like, really optimized for good sleep.
So blackout curtains, eye mask, all that.
Exactly. And this one I thought was really interesting. She talks about aligning your sleep schedule with the sun.
So waking up with the sun, even if it's painful.
Yeah, I know, right? Sounds rough, especially if you're not a morning person.
Yeah.
But Dr. Means says that getting sunlight first thing in the morning can help reset your internal clock, and you actually have more energy throughout the day.
Okay, I'm down to try it, especially if it means feeling less sluggish. But let's be real. Sometimes life happens.
Oh, yeah.
What about those nights when you're up late, stressing about work, family, you name it?
Well, that's where stress management comes in.
Right.
Dr. Means actually has a whole section on how stress impacts our cells.
Okay.
Basically, it's like our bodies go into that fight or flight mode,
Right.
and they can't turn it off.
Right, like it's stuck in overdrive.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And she highlights this thing called the vagus nerve,
Okay.
which is super important for calming down that nervous system response.
Right, so we can switch from fight or flight to rest and digest mode.
Exactly. And she talks about how being stressed out all the time, it disrupts that balance. It leads to more inflammation, problems sleeping.
Yeah.
It's like this domino effect of stuff that sabotages good energy.
So how do we actually manage stress? It's not like we can just like snap our fingers and make it go away. It's part of life, right?
Totally. She
Yeah.
gets that. You can't control everything life throws at you,
Right.
but you can control how you respond to it.
Okay, so what are some of those techniques she talks about for activating the vagus nerve, getting out of that fight or flight mode?
Well, some are really easy, like deep breathing.
Sure.
I know everyone says that, but it seriously helps.
Okay.
Some are a little more, I don't know, out there. Like cold exposure.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently a quick blast of cold water in the shower, it's not just good for waking you up. They can actually stimulate your vagus nerve.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cold showers for better health. All right, you're going to have to convince me on that one.
Yeah.
But I'm all about deep breathing. We can do that. What else?
She's also big on mindfulness stuff, meditation, yoga, even just being out in nature.
So it doesn't always have to be those hardcore workouts.
Nope. Sometimes just chilling out, literally smelling the roses, it's just as beneficial for managing stress.
I like it. So it's about finding what works for you and making it a habit.
Exactly.
Finding those moments of peace throughout the day. Okay, we've got diet, sleep, stress. What about those environmental toxins she mentions? It feels like they're everywhere.
Yeah, that's a big one for Dr. Means. She talks about how all these chemicals in our food, our
Mhm.
cleaning products, even furniture, can mess with our hormones.
Oh,
They
it'll-
really interfere with how our cells work.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little paranoid now. It's like there are toxins lurking everywhere.
I know, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But knowledge is power, right? She gives you a ton of practical tips for minimizing your exposure.
Okay, like what? Give me some action steps here. Let's detoxify our lives.
Number one, choosing organic foods as often as possible. And not just fruits and veggies. She's talking about organic meat and dairy, too,
Okay,
to avoid those added hormones and antibiotics.
makes sense. We are what we eat, as they say. What else?
Filtering your water is a big one, too.
Right.
All those contaminants in tap water can really add up.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get one of those fancy water filters,
Yeah, that's a good investment.
for sure. Any other everyday swaps we can make?
She's really big on taking a good look at your personal care products, too.
Okay, like what?
Shampoos, lotions, makeup, all that.
Right.
And choosing cleaner, non-toxic options whenever you can.
Oh man, trying to decipher those ingredient lists on those products is like a whole other job. But those parabens and sulfates, they're no good, right?
No, not really.
Okay, good to know.
She actually has a bunch of resources on her website for finding safer products.
Okay, cool.
And honestly, there are so many awesome natural options out there now.
Right, for sure. Okay, so we're eating clean, sleeping soundly, managing our stress, detoxifying our homes. Anything else we need to know about achieving good energy? Or are we ready for a nap?
We've covered a lot, but there's one more piece of the puzzle that people often overlook: movement.
Oh, right. Exercise. But she doesn't just mean, like, hitting the gym every day, right? It's because, honestly, the thought of that kind of exhausts me. We're back, ready to get moving. But before we start sprinting towards good energy, you said Dr. Means has a different take on exercise.
Yeah, she does.
I'm all ears, especially if it doesn't involve burpees.
Don't worry, she's not talking about hours of crazy workouts or anything.
Okay, good.
She's really focused on moving more in our everyday lives, not just dedicated exercise time.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Okay.
But, like, how much are we talking here? Is pacing around my kitchen while I wait for my coffee enough?
Well, every little bit helps. Dr. Means talks about this thing called NEAT.
Neat.
Yeah, it stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Basically, all those little movements we make throughout the day, walking, taking the stairs, even just fidgeting, they add up to burn more energy than you might think.
So basically, being a little antsy is good for you. That's great news for all us fidgeters out there. But what about those of us stuck at desks all day? We can't exactly be doing jumping jacks between emails.
Right, she gets that modern life involves a lot of sitting. But she's all about finding those opportunities to move more. Set a timer to get up and stretch every hour, maybe take a walking meeting, even just stand up while you're on the phone, little things like that.
I'm actually standing up right now.
There you go.
See, learning about good energy is already making me more active. But what about those of us who do enjoy a good workout? Any tips there?
She likes a mix of aerobic exercise things like brisk walking, swimming, dancing,
Yep.
and then strength training a couple of times a week. But here's the key. Find what you actually enjoy doing.
So ditch the gym if it feels like a chore.
Exact.
Find something that feels good.
Like I.
But with all this talk about food and sleep and stress and toxins and now movement, it feels like a lot to manage.
It can feel overwhelming for sure. That's where her concept of bio-individuality comes in. She's really big on the idea that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this good energy thing.
So what works for one person might not work for someone else.
Exactly.
It's about figuring out what makes you feel your best. How do we even figure that out, though?
It takes some experimenting. Dr. Means wants people to really pay attention to how their bodies react to different foods, different activities, even just lifestyle choices. She loves the idea of keeping a journal,
Oh.
track your energy levels, your sleep, your mood, all of it.
So it's like you're your own science experiment.
Exactly. And when you start to see patterns in that data, you can start to see what's actually making a difference for you. Dr. Means is also a big fan of lab tests and those wearable tech gadgets.
Right, she talked about those continuous glucose monitors, right? To
Mhm.
see how your blood sugar reacts to different foods. That's wild.
It's like getting a peek behind the curtain of your metabolism. She also recommends regular blood work, check your cholesterol, your insulin levels, inflammation markers, that kind of
So
thing.
you can see if those changes you're making are actually having an effect at the cellular level.
Exactly.
That's so cool. But those tests and gadgets, they can get pricey. Not everyone has access to that.
Oh, absolutely. And Dr. Means understands that. The most important thing, she says, is just listening to your own body. What works for you might be different from what works for someone else.
It's about tuning in to those internal signals and trusting your intuition. But even when you know what to do, making lasting changes is hard. Any tips for actually sticking with it?
She's all about starting small. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one or two things and really focus on those. She also likes this thing called habit stacking.
Habit stacking, okay.
Yeah, you basically link a new habit to one you already have. So say you drink a glass of water every morning, try adding a few minutes of deep breathing or meditation to that.
Ooh, I like that. Small changes, big impact. It's not about overhauling your entire life overnight. It's about those little tweaks you can actually keep up with.
Exactly. And maybe the most important thing Dr. Means talks about is being kind to yourself.
Right.
This whole good energy journey isn't about being perfect, it's about making progress.
I love that. Celebrate the small wins, be patient, and keep chasing that good energy.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been a great conversation, by the way.
This has been awesome. I'm feeling so inspired to take charge of my health and really prioritize those little things that make a big difference.
That's what it's all about.
For sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into good energy with Dr. Casey Means.
Great book.
It really is. And a huge thank you to our expert for breaking it all down with us.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And to you, our listeners, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.